Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, I'm here to talk about our newly crowned welterweight champion in the UFC, Belal Muhammad. What I think of Belal Muhammad in terms of his near future, and a little bit more regarding Belal Muhammad leading up to the night of UFC 304. But before getting started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification to get all of this that is new from this channel, your channel, the one and only MMA Vision Analysis. UFC 304 is officially in the history books at this point, and history has been made. In all honesty, the Manchester UFC 304 card, generally speaking, I think did not live up to expectations. I believe that the expectations for this card were much higher than what it actually produced in terms of entertainment. There were a couple fights that kind of made the night somewhat. That Paddy Pimblett Bobby Green fight was a pretty interesting fight. Also, the co-main event between Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades gave us a nice jolt of energy before the night ended, and really kind of capped off I don't want to say mediocre, but it was a decent card, off in a nice way, okay? Obviously, with the main event, history was made. There was not much history in Paddy Pimblett defeating Bobby Green. With all respect to both parties, there wasn't really much that changed in terms of the heavyweight division with Tom Aspinall defeating Curtis Blades. Aside from the fact that Tom Aspinall was able to avenge his unfortunate loss in their first fight. Now Tom Aspinall waits for the champion of the division, John Jones. Obviously, Tom Aspinall is a champion of his own. Even though he is the interim champion, effectively, he is a champion. He fought for that title and he earned it. He's also defended that title at this point. Very interested to see what happens in that heavyweight division. I really do believe that if John Jones doesn't probably get his whatever injury that he has to deal with, if the guy doesn't get back in there, I would say sometime soon, then I just don't see how the UFC wouldn't ask him to really relinquish that title. Effectively, at this point, with all respect to perhaps the all-time great John Jones, but at this point, it is effectively holding up the division. He's been out without any definite comeback date. There's a lot of haze in regards to John Jones' comeback. I did read about a injury that John Jones is dealing with currently, which is going to prolong his absence. And John Jones, in terms of coming back, it's just not. It's an unknown thing. So, in terms of the heavyweight division, really nothing's changed. Effectively, nothing's really changed. It's just that Tom Aspinall defended his interim title against Curtis Blades. Would have been very unfortunate for him to have lost to Curtis, because that would have meant he would have never got the opportunity to face the champion of the division. But now with that win, we still don't know if he's going to be able to face the champion of the division, at least anytime soon. So that's kind of confusing in terms of the heavyweight division. Like I said, I really do believe there's nothing that kind of changed in the heavyweight division with Tom Aspinall beating Curtis Blades, other than there's a bit of controversy in terms of perhaps it was some may argue there was an early stoppage. Perhaps Curtis Blades would be the first to do so, even though effectively he was not defending himself for majority of the shots, really. That being said, I do digress a bit. I'm here to talk about the fight that actually I think made the night of UFC 304, and at the same time made history. We have a guy that's a new champion of a division in the name of Belal Muhammad. Bilal's performance against Leon Edwards was the same as what that's what I always expect from Bilal. Consistency. I do understand that the guy is not the guy that has the quote unquote gift of gab. He's not probably the most outspoken, good with his words politician type of character, but when he is inside of that octagon, he is very effective and he's consistent. And he also did one thing that is very brilliant, and I believe in the past few years Bilal has been training with the guys that come from Dagestan, Russia. That was clearly evident in his fight against Leon Edwards. I believe Bilal took Leon Edwards down, I want to say 8, 9, or even 10 times. He shot for a takedown probably around 14 or 15 times. Like I said, he was able to land at least 8 takedowns, and which one of them was a very dangerous takedown. He was able to land Leon Edwards on his head. That could have been a very serious injury. I'm glad that Leon escaped that okay. I believe the fact that Belal Muhammad was such a under the radar character probably helped him in kind of flying under the radar all the way until the fact that last night Belal became champion of that welterweight division, which is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And I've even mentioned it many times before the fight. I believed in Belal Muhammad probably more than many other people. I believe that many people counted Belal Muhammad out, including Leon Edwards. And the reason I say that is because I believe that Leon did not show any true urgency all throughout the fight, really until the last probably 20 or 30 seconds of the fight. He was able to land some significant shots, elbows specifically. Perhaps the biggest shots of the fights were landed in the last few seconds of the fight, 30 seconds specifically. That's when Leon was able to show some type of urgency, and he landed huge shots. I did mention that if Leon was to start off the fight with that type of urgency, there was no way that this fight would have lasted the 5 rounds. I believe that despite Belal showing, as he always does, consistent and on point, I believe what helped Belal look as good as he did is the fact that perhaps Leon Edwards was somewhat overlooking Belal Muhammad. Leon did mention that he thought that Belal was taking it personal, and it seems like that Leon Edwards did not take it personal enough, quite frankly. How can it not be personal? It's not personal in terms of these guys hate each other in real life type of deal. But it is personal because you are effectively in the other fighter's way. You were effectively in Belal Muhammad's way, and he had to remove you out of his way to get to that title. Therefore, in those ways, in that term, it is personal. It was a personal mission for Belal Muhammad to get the ex-champion now, Leon Edwards, out of the way in terms in order, for Belal to gain that title, which ultimately he did. Perhaps Belal taking it personal helped Belal take the fight more serious. I really do believe that Leon Edwards could have done better. I think that was evident in the last 30 seconds of the fight. Like I said, when Leon showed some urgency, he was able to land some devastating shots, really. Fighters can't take many of those. If you were to start off the fight with the way that you ended it, in terms of Leon Edwards, then I promise you this fight wouldn't have went the 5 rounds. I can almost guarantee that. That being said, I'm trying to be fair here, 50-50, split down the middle, and give both guys the respect and appreciation, and just kind of go back and forth, touch on points. Going back to Belal Muhammad, it's very interesting for me to see what happens for Belal next. I do understand that Leon Edwards was talking about super fights and lack of competition. Also, he talked about moving up to that 185 division and challenging the champion of the division and so on. Obviously, all those plans in terms of Leon Edwards will be put on hold. Perhaps the most logical fight in that welterweight, as far as the championship is concerned, is for these two, Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, to face each other again, perhaps end of the year. Interesting fight if it was to happen. Probably more than likely will happen unless circumstances say otherwise. The likes of injuries and just life. Then we'll probably see Belal defend his title against somebody else. I think with Belal being the champion now, I think he's going to open so many eyes. I think so many people are going to want to take a shot at that title. Guys that probably thought they had no chance against Leon Edwards will probably think that they'll have a chance against Belal Muhammad, even though that would be kind of foolish just because the guy is super consistent. And like I said, I think because he's not as outspoken as others, it helps him kind of fly under the radar, really, which ultimately I think helped him just kind of, I don't want to say sneak his way to the championship, because that was not the case. He's beating big names. The likes of Leon Edwards, the guy that's defeated Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. So it was a big task the night of UFC 304. Obviously, the now welterweight champion was able to overcome the gigantic task that was Leon Edwards. And fantastic wrestling from Belal Muhammad's side. Obviously, that Dagestani style was evident in his style. Not quite Khabib or Islam Makhachev, but still pretty darn good. Belal was pretty good. I mean, that was precisely what I was talking about when Leon Edwards was mentioning before the fight that he does not see any competition in the welterweight division. I had trouble with those statements. You guys can go back to that video. And I did mention that the night of UFC 304, Belal Muhammad is no joke. That's not going to be an easy task. Just judging by Leon Edwards' statements, it just seemed like he was kind of overlooking the guy. Also, he kind of dismissed the idea of fighting Islam Makhachev because he knows the result. The way that Belal Muhammad fought Leon Edwards is probably identical to what Islam would have done against Leon Edwards, only Islam would have probably done it quicker. I really do believe so. And I really do believe that Leon Edwards was trying his best not to face Islam Makhachev, because that was a lose-lose situation. And I don't think that Leon Edwards would have ever thought that Belal Muhammad was ever going to be able to channel his quote-unquote inner Khabib Nurmagomedov, because there were glimpses of Khabib in Belal Muhammad yesterday. Not quite Khabib or Islam, like I said, but it was just phenomenal in terms of wrestling. Last night, there was the best wrestling on that night out of all 12 fights, I believe. So that being said, very interested to see what happens for Belal next. Like I said, the most obvious thing is perhaps an immediate rematch with Leon Edwards. If that doesn't happen, I believe that there are so many other names that have their eyes wide open now that Belal Muhammad is the champion, and I think that these guys think that it's a easier task to go in there and face Belal than it was to try and fight Leon Edwards. Perhaps one of those guys is the former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Even though Kamaru is, he's had to deal with some losses as of late, and it's probably a far-reach statement Kamaru Usman could truly challenge for a title in his very next fight, even though there's really nothing out of the realm of possibility, in all honesty. Fights are scheduled, fighters pull out, and other guys have to fill in. So you never know. You really never know. But I think that the fact that Belal Muhammad is the champion of that welterweight division now, a lot of guys think that it's probably an easier task to get that title, or rip that title, rather, from Belal Muhammad's shoulder. But to whomever it may concern, the dude, obviously he's not going to be the welterweight division champion forever, but to whoever is going to face Belal Muhammad in his UFC career, the dude is 36 or 37. I'm just saying, as long as he is in there competing at the highest level, anybody that's fighting Belal is promised a consistent fight, I believe. And at this point, before this point, really, the dude had I think 10 or 11 wins in a row, only third or fourth highest ever in the UFC. I think that chart's led by a guy named John Jones. If I'm not mistaken, the latter has 15 wins in a row, 14, something like that. The list goes down to, if I'm not mistaken, Habib and Islam. If I'm not mistaken, 12 or 13, I think, something like that between the two. And then Belal Muhammad is fourth on that list with, if I'm not mistaken, 10 or 11 wins in a row now. Highly impressive. I believe nobody would have gave Belal Muhammad his credit if he wasn't to gain that title yesterday. I believe the hard work for years have paid off for Belal last night, and I'm super excited to see what happens for this guy next. If you made it this far, truly appreciate it for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments, like, subscribe for more.